Previously on Route 29 Stalker.
And then I was looking at the license plates, and I noticed that the license plates were 30-day tags. So I knew that it was nothing that I could write down or anything like that. But I did get the feeling that something wasn't right with this person doing this.
And then a few minutes later, I saw them going really slow in front of my house in the northbound lane. And they did a loop and came back around, and then they pulled into my driveway. He sat in my driveway for like a minute, and then I guess he couldn't, get the courage to knock on my door, and he pulled out. So I'm just wondering, what if he did knock on my door? What was he going to do?
Well, that's on this same road was where the mechanic that when you first turn on the road, there's a mechanic that lives right there, but he had that same type of truck for sale for the longest time.
Sure, you'll get into a huge rabbit hole just like I did. A very unusual deaths in Culpeper. All unsolved.
Two decades, 10,189 leads, and Virginia State Police say they are still looking for the man who tried to stop 20 or more women on the highway.
In that region over the past 2 decades was found murdered in brutal.
It's been over 20 years since St. Cloud native Julie Williams and Wally Winans of Unity, Maine were found murdered in the Virginia
horrific crime, a particularly grisly crime.
They called the killer the Route 29 Stalker.
From O3 Films at Watts Creative Studios, this is the Route 29 Stalker, and I'm your host, Woody Graham Watts.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Watts. First of all, I'd like to say I like what you're doing. Huge fan of the Up and Vanish podcast. Got real into them. Now it's I was just told about this one yesterday by my brother. I got some pretty wild information. Not information, but he was telling me about this podcast and that there was a murder in Lignan. And turns out that I used to hunt that piece of property. Pretty wild to know the whole background behind it now. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to call me.
After getting this message, I immediately got back with this community member. And over the last few weeks, we planned our visit and talked about the case. Then the day came, and my wife and I made the 2.5-hour trip to meet him, and he agreed to take us to the actual location of where Alicia's body was found.
Hey, how you doing? Good. My GPS stopped us. I was like an open gate up there. I was like, wait, nobody lives here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Woody. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm Laura.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Y'all drive all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did all right. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good trip. This is out here too. It's beautiful though.
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
nice. It's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Kind of away from everything, but it sucks when you have to grocery shop. Y'all ready now? Or?
I'm ready whenever you are. Yeah.
Okay.
With my recorder in hand, we take a ride. Another half-hour drive from his house to the location. A location he had hunted many times, along with many others in the hunting club. A drive that took us on some back roads, and a few that have been mentioned several times on this podcast. And even by one of the sisters in an earlier episode that the Route 29 Stalker tried to pull over. And make no mistake, it's out there. It's past the paved roads and into areas that you can go miles without seeing anyone else. And along the way, my guide shared his experience in finding out that this was the place where Alicia's body was found while hunting years later. And then after listening to the podcast, he started to put the pieces of the puzzle together and gave me a call. What he would tell me during this drive surprised me. Some of the details I had never heard before.
And he used to take me hunting with him because, you know, I didn't really have any spots out here at the time. So he took me with him and went down to their hunt club. And we've been there a few times. And he never mentioned anything about it. And one night I was sitting in his spot and I shot a deer. And so we had to, you know, go in the woods and track it.
Yeah.
And so we were walking in the woods in the middle of the night, and he was kind of just looked up at me. He was like, man, I don't think I ever told you, but there was a woman found right here where we're at. Dead, like in a bag, bagged up or whatever. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, yeah, way back in the day, there was a FedEx driver driving down the road, and he said he didn't know whether he saw buzzards flying in the air, and so he called it in, or if he had to go to the bathroom, so he stopped, walked in the woods to go to the bathroom real quick, and just stumbled across it. He said there was a woman found dead in the woods right there, and it kind of freaked me out, but I don't know, I didn't really think much of it back then, you know what I mean? Like, my sister's boyfriend was on a Facebook group for different podcasts and stuff, and he said that you joined it, and so he started listening to it. Then he told my brother about it, and then I was heading home from work one day and got to talking. I was like, yeah, man, you know, I finished all of my podcasts, so have you heard any more? And he was like, yeah, Jeff told me about one. It's called the 29 Stalker. I was like, what? He said, yeah, it's called the Route 29 Stalker, right there where you live at. And he just got to tell me about it, about the whole story, and then he was like, there's a woman found in Lignum. I was like, that's weird, you know, because I hunt a piece of property over there in Lignum, and my buddy told me there was a woman found in the woods, and some FedEx driver or something saw buzzards flying around and called it in, and that's how they found her. And he was like, man, that's the same freaking story. That's the same thing. So I was just like, holy crap. I had no idea there was a whole story behind it. Like, you know, multiple cases of missing women, and kind of really freaked me out then, you know. It's just like, holy crap, man, this is right here where I live. You know, and the funny thing is, it's like, I never heard about it. You know, my stepdad, he's been living in Orange, right here down the road, since the late 90s, and never heard him say anything about it. And even when he told me, you know, I didn't think to ask, like, you know, any more questions about it. But it's just weird that people don't really, I don't know, talk much about it, but I guess being 20 years ago,
it's not really talked about.
Nope.
Like, it's not really present in the community.
No, not really. But seems like a lot of people know about it, but no one really speaks of it. We'll see when we get down here, but there's there's a couple houses right in the beginning of the road, and then it's nothing after that. The road kind of winds off, and there's the children's facility or whatever it is back there, all the way at the end of one, and then I think all the way at the end of the other road, it used to be a house, and there's nothing there anymore. But that's it, and then the rest is just woods. And to get to that road, you have to turn onto another road right off Route 3, and then that road is off of the other road. You know, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the kind of place where someone just wants to go joyriding around and just to drive around, you know. Part of me thinks that it's not someone that necessarily lived right here in Orange, because it's a big county, but people talk, you know, and even back then everybody knows everybody. I mean, between me and my wife, we could probably name everyone we went to high school with, you know. Well, my buddy's grandfather said that they were turkey hunting. You know, it was right after deer season. And he said the body would have had to have been put there on a Sunday, I believe he said, because they were turkey hunting Friday and Saturday. And he said back then they had came through and select cut that section of the woods, and so there really wasn't any trees up. They would have noticed if something was laying on the ground. Man, this is crazy. So I'll tell you where I was. Right there where we turned around, right? That's where my buddy used to hunt, and it would go down. You walk right into the middle of the section there, and then that's where I was hunting. But we ended up walking that way towards the child help building, and it was a good little ways. So that's where we were.
Do you know how far off the road she was? Or, I mean, was it fairly close where he could pull a truck, or was it way back? Like, was there any, you had to walk back there, you said, right?
Yeah, I mean, you ain't driving no truck in there. It was thick. It used to be really, really thick. All thick pine trees. But, I mean, that's the thing. If a truck driver saw buzzards flying over top, to me, it would have to be fairly close to the road. Because imagine all these trees being this close to the road. You're not going to be able to see over top of them a good ways out into the middle of that property. So that's kind of strange to me too. I have a hard time believing that someone would call and report buzzards flying around.
As you can imagine, I'm trying to take all this information in and process it. How much is fact, and then how much is hearsay passed down over the years? Not only did I just hear possibly how she was found, but how the call was made, and by who. Up until this point, every article I have found online has had a different account, some being a logging company employee, and others, it's a local community member who saw the buzzards. And now, I found out that another possibly could exist and be a random delivery truck driver. All by chance made the call after seeing buzzards. This visit, to be honest, changes a lot of what I thought I knew about this case. And I now have a new respect for investigators who have worked years on these cases. How long had she actually been out there? And would the timing of the buzzards provide any answers? And even more importantly, who was the actual person that made the call? And would these answers even help us find out who the Route 29 stalker is?
And so the story from your buddy is that it was a FedEx driver.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep.
I don't know who the driver was.
FedEx or UPS.
Where are they delivering to?
I mean, it is. It's wild. You go all the way to the end of this road, and it's got a gate for this place, and the whole property is fenced off. You can't see nothing. It's weird.
And so the FedEx driver was delivering something to Child Help.
Yep.
And saw buzzards, or either was using the bathroom and stumbled on her. But then the story is that he just saw buzzards.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense if he actually saw something. I mean, but why would he go that far up in the woods?
Right. No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been far up in the woods. I don't know. That just sounds strange to me. That someone would call the cops to report buzzards flying around. You know.
Yeah, it seems like an odd thing to notice.
Right.
2, to call the cops about.
Yep.
That, like, if you're from the area.
Yeah, I've never called the cops over that, and I see it all the time during hunting season, or even during the summer. Because out here, there's dead animals all over the place, and buzzards. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing to see.
I'm not gonna lie to you. My head is still spinning from this visit to the actual scene of where Alicia's body was found. That whole day, the emotional weight was so heavy on us. And please understand, we do not take this lightly. This was a real person who was loved very much, and her life was cut short by the Route 29 stalker. I have to say though, after this visit, I'm even more determined to get this podcast out there and keep people talking about it. It's because of this person that called in that I now have new information to go on, and even more questions, bigger questions, that I wish I could include in this episode. And trust me, in the next few episodes, I'll ask them, and even have a few experts to help us wade through them. However, on the way to the location, we passed a place that he pointed out to me, and well, I still can't shake it.
But this right here, this is Breeden's Auto. Yep. Right there, man. And they've been there for a long time. So I was thinking maybe he knew someone that worked there, or the son, and that's how he came up with Larry Breeden. I don't know.
I've never even heard of Breeden's Auto.
Yeah.
And Culpeper. Like I mean out in this area, like that's never come up to me before.
Yeah, I mean and Route 3 is right here. It's not far. It's not far from it. So if he was hanging out around that 7-Eleven at the end of 23, I'm sure he's been up this way. And maybe, I don't know if that's how he came up with the name, or...
For more information about this podcast and what we've found regarding the Route 29 stalker, visit route29stalker.com, route29stalker.com. As we investigate this, we will be releasing all the information we gather on this website. We also have discussion boards. Thanks for listening. Meet us back here for the next episode.
This is Mike Morford. You may know me as co-host of the true crime podcast Criminology. I'd like to invite you to listen to my new podcast, The Murder in My Family, which is out right now. In each episode, I discuss a murder case and include an interview with a family member of the victim to discuss the aftermath of the murder. Some of the cases I cover are well known, and others you probably haven't heard of. And I have several episodes currently available for you to binge on, including episodes about the Delphi murders, the Golden State Killer, and the Colonial Parkway murders, just to name a few. Here's a small sample. Bill Thomas is the brother of Kathy Thomas, and he agreed to talk with me about the murder in his family.
Well, Mike, at the risk of sounding like every other proud big brother around the world, Kathy was an amazing person.
And one thing I wanted to get across is how important it is that the victims that I'll be talking about in these cases aren't just statistics. You know, they were real people. They're more than just murder victims.
For me, knowing that he has a family and that he gets to see his kids every day and that he gets to be there for his kids growing up, like, it's not fair. He was the most funniest man I've ever met. He was everybody's friend.
New episodes come out on Saturdays, and you can find The Murder in My Family wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe today so you don't miss an episode.